What if a city felt so insecure about its own identity, it decided to build a completely new one in less than a decade? And what if an entire country, just to exist peacefully on the world map, had to change its own name? This isn't the plot of a dystopian novel. This is the raw, complicated, and utterly fascinating story of North Macedonia. A story written in stone, steel, and searing controversy. Forget everything you think you know about a typical Balkan trip. We're not here just to see the sights. We're here to understand a nation's agonizing struggle for its soul. Join me as we peel back the layers and uncover the secrets, the paradoxes, and the resilient heart of a land most people couldn't find on a map. Your first steps into Skopje's city center are an assault on the senses. It's not the noise or the crowds, but the sheer, unapologetic, and baffling grandeur. On one side of the ancient Vardar River, a triumphant warrior on a colossal horse rears into the sky, fist raised in victory. Across a bridge adorned with an army of statues, another giant figure, a seated king of immense historical weight, stares back. Every corner you turn, another bronze or marble figure greets you, a shoe, shine boy frozen in time, a charging bull, women in traditional dress, stern-faced revolutionaries with pistols drawn. The buildings lining the river are a fever dream of neoclassical columns, ornate domes, and gilded balustrades. They look ancient, as if they've stood for centuries, guarding the secrets of lost empires. But they haven't. Almost none of it is old. This is the grand, bewildering stage set of a project known as SKOPJE 2014. And to understand it, you have to understand the profound identity crisis at the heart of this young nation. When Macedonia declared independence from a collapsing Yugoslavia in 1991, it stepped onto the world stage with a name, a flag, and a history that its powerful southern neighbor, Greece, vehemently contested. Greece argued that the name, Macedonia, and the Virginia sun symbol on its flag were exclusively part of Hellenic heritage, belonging to their own northern province of Macedonia, the ancient kingdom of Philip Talai and his legendary son, Alexander the Great. This dispute became an existential obstacle, blocking the country's path to joining NATO and the European Union for nearly 3 decades. It was a geopolitical chokehold. So, what do you do when your very identity is challenged on the world stage? The nationalist government of the time, led by the VMRO, DPME party, and Prime Minister Nikola Gruevski, responded with one of the most audacious, expensive, and controversial nation-building projects in modern history, SKOPJE 2014. The official budget was around 80 million euros, but critics and independent estimates place the true cost at over 500 million euros. An astronomical sum for one of Europe's poorest countries. The goal was to physically cement a national narrative into the capital's landscape. They weren't just building structures, they were building an argument in stone. The colossal statue, officially named Warrior on a Horse, is so transparently Alexander the Great that it's almost comical. The other, simply Warrior, is his father, Philip II of Macedon. The new archaeological museum, a Parthenon-like structure, is filled with artifacts intended to prove this direct lineage. The project was a defiant, multi-hundred million euro claim to this ancient heritage, an attempt to build a sense of national pride and historical continuity stretching back millennia, leapfrogging centuries of Slavic and Ottoman influence. The result is a city of profound, jarring contrasts. It's visually stunning, especially at night when the buildings and bridges are illuminated, reflecting a golden fantasy in the river's dark waters. But this new facade was built directly on top of, and often at the expense of, Skopje's other histories. The city's post-1963 earthquake reconstruction, led by the famed Japanese architect Kenzo Tange, had created a globally recognized center of modernist and brutalist architecture. Iconic buildings like the Central Post Office, a concrete structure resembling a lotus flower, were now overshadowed or hemmed in by this new, pseudo-classical vision. For many locals, architects, and intellectuals, SKOPJE 2014 felt like an expensive, kitschy mask placed over the city's true, complex face. Protests erupted, and graffiti became a form of political commentary, with the new monuments frequently defaced. You can feel this tension as you walk. Is this a magnificent national rebirth or a desperate, costly forgery? A proud declaration of identity or a symptom of deep insecurity? The city doesn't give you a straight answer. It just presents its two faces, leaving you to ponder the question. But if you want to find the SKOPJE that doesn't need to shout its identity, the city that has quietly endured for centuries, you only need to take a few steps. You just need to cross the river, over the real, undisputed history of the stone bridge. The transition is immediate and absolute. The wide, monumental squares give way to a labyrinth of narrow, cobblestone streets. The air changes. It's filled with the layered scents of freshly ground coffee, the rich smoke of grilled teh avapi, the sweet aroma of tobacco from shisha pipes, and the faint metallic tang from a coppersmith's workshop. This is the Ohrid, Skopje's Old Bazaar. It is not a reconstruction or a tourist trap. It is one of the largest and best preserved Ottoman bazaars in the Balkans, a living, breathing organism that has been the city's commercial and social heart for over 500 years. Here, the grandiose statues are replaced by the slender, elegant minarets of historic mosques, like the magnificent Mustafa Pasha Mosque, which has watched over the city from its perch since 1492. The neoclassical facades are replaced by caravanserais, old, sprawling inns like Kapan An and Sulian, with their stone courtyards where merchants and travelers once rested their camels and their weary bodies. You can walk through them today and almost hear the echoes of centuries of commerce. You find hammams, traditional Turkish baths, their domed roofs studded with small glass holes to let in slivers of light. This isn't a performance of history, this is continuity. This is the SKOPJE that endured. This is where you witness the city's true multicultural fabric. You hear the melodic call to prayer from the minarets mingling with the distant ringing of bells. From the Church of the Holy Savior, home to one of the most intricate wooden iconostases in the Orthodox world. In the shops and cafes, you hear Albanian, Turkish, Romani, and Macedonian spoken fluidly, often in the same conversation. This is where the cultural influences mentioned in the original transcript truly come alive. It's not just reminiscent of Middle Eastern food. It is the living legacy of the Ottoman Empire, Skype as it was then known. You can spend an entire day getting lost here. You duck into a small shop to watch a master craftsman hammering intricate filigree patterns onto a piece of silver, a delicate art form passed down through generations. You sit in a tiny, family-run restaurant and order birek, a flaky pastry filled with meat or cheese. So simple yet so satisfying. You learn the meaning of muhabbet, a uniquely Balkan concept. It's not just chatting, it's a deep, unhurried, soul-bearing conversation that can last for hours, fueled by tiny cups of thick, strong Turkish coffee. Here, time is not a commodity to be managed, but an ocean to be savored. The Old Bazaar is the city's undisputed soul, a testament to a history of coexistence and resilience that feels far more profound than any modern monument. But SKOPJE's identity isn't just fought over in stone and in memory. Just beyond the city limits lies a treasure of a completely different kind, one that reminds you that North Macedonia's heart is as wild as it is historic. A short, inexpensive bus ride from the capital's center, the urban landscape dissolves into something primal and breathtakingly beautiful. This is Matka Canyon. The Vardar River, which flows so tamely through Skopje, is born from the dramatic cliffs and emerald waters of this gorge. It is, without exaggeration, one of Europe's most stunning natural wonders, yet it remains surprisingly accessible and uncrowded. Here, the fierce debates over national identity fade into irrelevance, replaced by the simple, overwhelming power of nature. The air is cooler, the silence broken only by birdsong and the gentle lapping of water. You can rent a kayak and paddle through the serene, deep, green water enclosed by towering limestone cliffs that feel like the walls of a natural cathedral. Or you can take a small boat tour, which will guide you deeper into the canyon to Vrelo Cave. This is not just any cave. It's one of the deepest underwater caves in the world. Its full depth, still a tantalizing mystery, despite numerous international expeditions. It's a literal journey into the unknown. For those who prefer to stay on land, hiking trails snake up the canyon walls, offering spectacular views. Dotted along the cliffs are medieval monasteries, like the 14th century monastery of St. Andrew, clinging to the rock face as if they grew there. They are quiet, contemplative places, offering a sense of peace that stands in stark contrast to the political theater of the capital. Matka is also a biodiversity hotspot, home to dozens of endemic species of butterflies and plants found nowhere else on Earth. It's a reminder that this land has a rich, natural identity that predates any human civilization. Visiting Matka Canyon is essential to understanding North Macedonia. It proves that the country is more than its cities and their complex histories. It has a raw, powerful, natural soul that offers a vital escape and a much-needed sense of perspective. And this deep connection to nature finds its ultimate expression in the country's crown jewel. If Skopje is the country's turbulent, modern mind, then Ohrid is its ancient, spiritual heart. The original transcript described it as a tranquil place for the elite, and while it is peaceful, that description barely scratches the surface of its profound importance. Ohrid isn't just a pretty lakeside town. It is a cradle of Slavic civilization, the very source of its literary and spiritual identity. Lake Ohrid is a geological marvel. One of the oldest and deepest lakes in Europe, it is a shimmering expanse of water so ancient and clear, you can see the stones on its floor meters below. Often called the European Galapagos, its isolation has allowed a unique ecosystem to evolve, with over 200 endemic species. Both the lake and the town are a UNESCO World Heritage Site, one of only a handful of places in the world recognized for both its outstanding natural and cultural significance. The legend that Ohrid once had 365 churches, one for every day of the year, earned it the nickname, the Jerusalem of the Balkans. Walking through Ohrid's old town is like stepping back through layers of history. You wander up steep cobblestone streets, past traditional houses with overhanging upper floors, designed to maximize space and sunlight. You stumble upon the magnificent ancient theater, built by the Greeks and later repurposed by the Romans for gladiator fights and public spectacles. You can sit on its stone tiers today and imagine the drama that unfolded here 2 millennia ago. Climbing further, you reach the formidable walls of Samuel's fortress, which has stood guard over the lake for over 1,000 years. A symbol of the First Bulgarian Empire's power. But the real story of Ohrid lies in its role as a center of enlightenment. It was here, at the Ohrid Literary School, founded by Saints Clement and Naum, that the Cyrillic alphabet was refined and taught. These disciples of Saints Cyril and Methodius created a center of learning that would spread literacy and Orthodox Christianity throughout the Slavic world. This is not a contested history, it is a foundational story for several nations, and its heart is right here. You can feel this legacy at the magnificent church of St. Sophia, with its world-renowned Byzantine frescoes, and in the city's icon gallery, which holds one of the most important collections of icons in the world. And then there is the defining image of Ohrid, the one you will see on every postcard and in every travel guide, the small, impossibly picturesque Church of St. John at Canio. Perched on a cliff overlooking the vast, tranquil expanse of the lake, it is a place of sublime beauty and profound peace. To stand there, with the water stretching to the Albanian mountains on the horizon, is to feel a sense of timelessness that puts all human conflicts into perspective. To miss Ohrid is to miss the very essence of North Macedonia. Just as the country's history is layered, so is its cuisine. The original transcript correctly identifies the Ottoman influence in its delicious grilled meats. But that's just the appetizer. Macedonian food is a hearty, soulful reflection of its geography and history, a vibrant blend of Balkan, Mediterranean, and Middle Eastern flavors. The real national dish is not something you'll find in a fancy restaurant, but a humble bean stew called tav grav. Fresh beans are slow, baked in a traditional clay pot with onions, peppers, and spices until they are impossibly creamy and intensely flavorful. It's peasant food elevated to an art form, a dish that speaks of warmth, family, and home. But the true superstar of the Macedonian table, its most famous export, is ajvar. This vibrant red spread, made from slow, roasted red peppers, garlic, and sometimes eggplant, is often called Balkan caviar. Every family has its own secret recipe, and the communal process of making it in huge batches in the autumn is a cherished cultural ritual. Spread on a piece of fresh, warm bread with a slice of salty syringe, a white cheese similar to fetuf, it is the pure, unadulterated taste of the Macedonian sun. And you cannot speak of Macedonian flavors without mentioning its two proudest liquids. The first is rakija, the quintessential Balkan spirit. This potent fruit brandy, most often made from grapes or plums, is woven into the fabric of life. It's served to welcome guests, to toast at weddings, to seal business deals, and even to mourn at funerals. To refuse a shot of homemade rakija is to refuse a gesture of hospitality. The second is its wine. This is one of Europe's best kept secrets. The Tikve wine region, in the heart of the country, has been producing wine for over 2,000 years. The local Vranek grape produces a powerful, robust, inky red wine that is uniquely Balkan. It is a source of immense national pride and a perfect example of a world-class Macedonian brand that deserves international recognition. The food and wine here aren't just for sustenance, they are a celebration of the land and a liquid history of the cultures that have passed through it. As you travel through the country, you'll notice the people. The original transcript observes their well-groomed appearance and a stress-free demeanor. There's truth to this. You'll encounter a genuine warmth and a fierce sense of pride. There is a vibrant, youthful energy, especially in the cafes of Skopje, where young people, stylish and modern, discuss their lives and futures over endless cups of coffee. But this youthful energy masks a poignant reality, a deeper story that requires a more nuanced lens than the one offered in the original video. For many of these bright, educated, and ambitious young Macedonians, the path to a better future often leads out of the country. This phenomenon, the brain drain, is one of the nation's most significant challenges. Decades of economic stagnation, political instability, and the long, frustrating wait to join the EU have led a staggering percentage of the youth to seek opportunities abroad. The country is rich in human potential, but it struggles desperately to keep it. This economic struggle is visible on the streets of the capital. The prevalence of beggars, as the original transcript noted, is impossible to ignore. It is a raw and uncomfortable manifestation of the country's poverty and deep-seated social challenges. Many of these beggars are from the marginalized Roma community, facing systemic discrimination and a cycle of poverty that is difficult to break. To see a child being used to elicit sympathy is heartbreaking, and it speaks to a deep, complex societal failure that cannot be solved by simply giving or withholding money. It is the difficult, unresolved side of the Macedonian story, a stark contrast to the gleaming new monuments. And finally, to truly understand the country today, you must understand how it got its current name. The name dispute with Greece, which fueled the creation of SKOPJE 2014, was finally resolved in 2018 with the historic Prespa Agreement. This agreement, which required the country to officially change its name to the Republic of North Macedonia, was an act of immense political courage and a painful compromise. It was met with fierce opposition and a divisive national referendum, but it ultimately unlocked the door to NATO membership in 2020 and opened the path for EU accession talks. The North in the country's name is a permanent reminder of this complex journey, a symbol of both loss and progress. This is the central paradox of North Macedonia. It's a country with a history so rich and contested, it doesn't know which one to claim. A nation of stunning natural beauty that struggles with man-made economic problems. A people full of warmth and potential, many of whom feel they must leave to realize it. It's a land of ancient serenity and modern anxiety, all existing at the same time, often on the very same street. A North Macedonia is more than a collection of statues or a cheap destination for tourists. It's a living lesson in how nations are made, unmade, and remade. It teaches us that history is never a settled story, but a constant, passionate, and often painful argument. It's a country that forces you to look beyond the surface, to question what is real and what is constructed, and to appreciate the quiet resilience of a culture that has endured against all odds. It's a place that stays with you long after you've left, not just for its beauty, but for its complexity and its profound, complicated human heart. What part of this story surprised you the most? The grand project of SKOPJE 2014, the ancient soul of Ohrid, or the poignant reality of its people? Share your thoughts or questions in the comments below. If this journey opened up a new perspective for you, please share this video with a fellow traveler who loves to dig deeper than the guidebooks. Subscribe for more in-depth stories from the world's most fascinating and misunderstood places. And if you're intrigued by another nation with a complex past, check out our video on Bosnia and Herzegovina next.